Assalamualaikum to our viewers and especially to our beloved Sir Azam bin Yaacob. So today, Group 4 that consists of Sabrina, Nurul Hanani, Irdina and me myself, Nurul Ainaa, will present the case study on accounting fraud of a company which is Transmile Group Berhad. Moving on to the first part, introduction. So the first part of introduction, I'm gonna explain on intro in accounting fraud. So what is exactly meaning of fraud in general? So fraud is actually maybe a wrong figure of the evidence or matters which result in the items of the fraud that get wrong by acting upon the incorrect matters. The second point is accounting fraud. As in accounting, they refer to as an accounting fraud, which is that the fraud that are happened and do intentionally by those that are involved. For examples like the workers of the corporate, accountants, or the organization itself. These people will manipulate the corporate financial statement to misleading the statements. It is also against the law adjustments of economic statements of the corporate. As we all aware that accounting fraud is against the law adjustment of economic statement of the corporate. A corporation can fake their financial statement by adjusting it. For examples, what they do in terms of fraud is that they purposely faking or misstate the financial reports, which lead their intention to adjust it just in case they need to try and do it later to close their fraud. So if it is unintentional misstatements, it will not be considered as accounting fraud. Next example, which is the persons in charge will overstate the revenue, misstating the assets and liability, or not recorded the expenses at all. Overstating the revenue is that they may be defined because the company face a loss or not make enough revenue in the company. So what the corporate do is that they will overstate their revenue to hide their losses to the opposite parties. For not recording the expenses in their earning report is that this may show that the corporate gain more profit by overstate their revenue and not stated their expenses. Cook the book. Other than accounting fraud that had happened in accounting, there are also cook the book fraud. Cook the book is thought as a slang from committed accounting tricks to form the company's financial statement result looks satisfying than what happened in reality. So basically, cook the book is implying manipulating the financial reports or data. It is meaning that it will raise the company's revenue and reduce or minimize the expenses to inflate their profits and earnings. There are a bunch of tactics that the businesses can use and liquidate order to enhance their financial reporting result. Second point is, cook the book could also be a fraud against the law which lead the parent company and also the persons who are involved or responsible in adjusting the financial report. So this corporate or individual will get caught and face penalties, fines, or get into prisons. It also will cause the shattering of the corporate itself. Several cook the books fraud that are done by the businesses are, for example, the corporate not recorded the expenses on this year's and recorded it on the following of the yearly financial statements. By doing it, the profit that gained from the businesses within the current year are look more favorable. Next example that happened in cookbooks fraud is credit sales and maximize the profit. So in this situation, it happens when the corporate use the sales that happen to maximize the profit. It is because when the sales are happen, the corporate are recorded it as a sales, even the purchaser can pay in due of 6 months.
So we continue with fraud happened in Transmile Group Berhad. So Transmile Group Berhad is a company where they are providing air transportation services and they deals in aircraft parts and equipment, and they are providing aircraft engineering and line maintenance services and aircraft ground handling services. So the company was founded by Gan Boon On in November 1993, and the company was listed in Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad on 27/1997. And in 2007, the company was hit by accounting scandal where it claims that the company was overstated their profits and revenue not only in 2006 but since 2004. And because of the failure of Transmile Group Berhad, it was not only affected to the company, but it also affected to their shareholders as well. Next is how was the fraud perpetrated and concealed. So Transmile Group Berhad was hit with an accounting scandal, and the scandal started when the company failed to follow their deadline of submission of audited annual accounts for financial year 30 December 2006. And for a company to submit their audited annual accounts, they must submit within 4 months after the close of their financial year. So for Transmile, they must submit at the end of the month, which is 30 April 2007. So Deloitte and Tachi, who is an external auditor for Transmile Group, they rejected their annual accounts because of Deloitte found out that they are lack of certain supporting documents, and because of this, Board of Directors has hired special audit, who is Mohd Roland Risk Management, to handle this case. And what they found is that Transmile has materially overstated their revenues and profits, even from 2004 in the audited annual accounts. So because of this, the group's former CEO Gan Boon On and former CFO Low Chok Ping and former executive directors Qdin Mohammed, they were charged because they were charged on purposely making misleading statement for its quarterly report. So Mohd found out that the company has suffered losses up to RM 496 million in 2005 and 2006, and they also have suffered losses RM 126.3 million. Instead of, they are saying that they are gaining profit of RM 157.5 million. And lastly, Mohd found that in 2005, Transmile has losses RM 369.6 million. Instead of, they reported that they are gaining profit of RM 84.4 million. Next is, who is the whistleblower? So whistleblower is actually play a hard role in a corporate environment, and everyone won't come out and say what is the wrong with the company, but as a whistleblower, you must come out when there is a hidden things in the company, and this will prevent the company from a full disclosure. So in this Transmile Group case, I can say that the whistleblower is their special auditor, who is Mohd Roland Risk Management. When they found out that the company had materially overstated their profits and revenues, not only from 2006, their unaudited annual accounts, but since 2004 in their audited annual accounts. So the company profits in the company's profit for the 2006 this actually had reversed from profit to a loss. So Mohd Roland, in what I said just now about how was the fraud perpetrated and concealed, Mohd found out that Transmile Group has suffered losses on 2005 and 2006 instead of gaining a profit. So this is because of the lack of supporting documents, and also because of this, their former independent director, which is Chim Kim Fyong and Shukri Sheikh Abdul Tawab, are being charged individually with purposely mislead the statement to Bursa Malaysia.
Next, we will proceed to the deep pressures, the opportunities and the rationalizations that have been found into the Transmile Group Berhad cases. The fraud triangle is a model that developed by Nurul Akrizi. It is explaining about the aspect that may affect to the organizations that commit any occupational fraud in their company. The fraud triangle has three parts, which is pressures or incentive, opportunities and rationalizations that will may show how and why fraudulent behavior happened. Based on the Transmile Group Berhad cases, they are perpetrating fraud in the company. The first fraud triangle is pressure, when common incentive for companies to manipulate financial statement is a decline in the company's financial prospect. Based on the Transmile Group Berhad cases, the pressure that had been found in the company when the company was hit with accounting scandal in 2007. It is happened when they fail to attach by the due date to submit their audited annual accounts for the financial year ended 31st December 2006 to Bursa Malaysia. But then, it became unpleasant when their external auditor, which is Deloitte and Touch, made decision to decline the approval of annual account to approve due to lack of some supporting documents. Therefore, thus, the board of directors should play their roles very well by giving the accurate documents, and they have to knowledge about the date of submissions of annual account on time. This will avoid any issues in the future that may affect of the status and reputations on Transmile and other parties. Apart from that, they found out there are some revenue and profit were materially exaggerated on the unaudited annual accounts on 2006 and the 2 years back before audited annual accounts on 2004 and 2005. These issues were affected the Transmile Group Berhad profit that had been upside down from profit to loss until the share price dropped to 8 ringgit Malaysia from 14 ringgit Malaysia when the company itself appointed Maurice Roland Risk Management to lead a special audit by Deloitte and Touch issue raised. Besides that, the board of directors of Transmile Group Berhad declared in their annual report before about their duty, yet they failed to do so by giving the power to the agent, which is Dato' On Siu Nams, and one of the directors at Kwak Kun Ho, which is Kwak Groups. Nevertheless, they also failed to perform their duty truthful with some expectation and thought that the management will perform it well with the directors and corporate governance with no guidance. To all intents and purpose, they supposed to perform their duties as far as they clarify in the annual report instead of put statement in order of complete and perfect annual report to be audited by auditor before released to the public. The next fraud triangle part are opportunities, where the financial statement of all companies are potentially subject to manipulate. The risk and greater for companies in industries where significant judgments and estimate are involved. Based on Transmile Group Berhad cases, opportunities start to happen when there are two incidents that had been notified by the audit committee and the top executive on 14 and 15 February 2007. They found a major accounting issues on the fourth quarter of 2006 unaudited report. The auditor decided to meet the board of directors to discuss and confirm about the approval unaudited annual account. Unfortunately, the annual account has been released before the auditor taken actions when it is released 2 weeks before the date of submissions. This issue occurred due to lack of in communications between the internal auditor, external auditor, and the board of directors. In fact, this will lead the audit committee and top executive to feel skeptical on the board of directors to conceal something related to Transmile company. The effect of release unaudited annual account. The independent auditor may be able to making a misleading misstatement to Bursa Malaysia that break the listing requirement of the exchange. The last part of fraud triangle are rationalisation, where the attitude of top management toward financial reporting is a critical risk factor in assessing the likelihoods of fraudulent financial statement. Based on Transmile Group Berhad cases, Deloitte & Touch is an independent auditor, yet they already had more than 10 years relationship with Transmile company. The long-term relationship may have intention with familiarity trait, that will be bring a bad effect to the auditor independence and their quality in auditing tasks. Indeed, it was Deloitte & Touch's intention to stay with Transmile company, even though they received an audit fees that were comparatively insufficient since they were worried of losing clients. Having a long-term relationship between the external auditor and the company itself may have misunderstanding and misstatement due to familiarity trait, as the Deloitte & Touch clarified their statement reason to decline to approve the annual account before. The reason the board of directors itself was not giving a commitment to the auditor by giving the accurate supporting document that had been asked for, in order to cover up the management fraud idea, to satisfy themselves and to ensure the company will sustain their profit and revenue every year.
Consequent from the Transmile Group Berhad scandal. First is shareholder, employee, auditor, government Malaysia and Bursa Malaysia, and also we have a company and guilty parties. So we go through one by one. First is shareholder. Some of the shareholder affected by the share crash during this scandal. The massive drop on 3 January 2007, share price from as high at 14 ringgit 40 cents to 50 cents at the top of the March 2010. This is caused the huge loss on the shareholder wealth. So the largest of the shareholder was Eternity Coral Sendian Berhad, and also the largest shareholder is in this Transmile Group Berhad is Cook Group, and the others portable shareholder is Push Malaysia and JP Morgan. Okay, we move to the next point. The next point is employees. This scandal caused a huge consequence on Transmile Group Berhad employee and also to the former employee of the company. With this is going to cause in the tarnishings of the good name of the company. Employees either they involved or either they involved directly or to the fraud, or they have no idea about this fraud. Okay, all the employee has been affected, while some of them didn't know about this fraud. Okay, we move to the third point is auditor. So we know the Transmile Group Berhad auditor is Deloitte and Touch. Okay, the failure by Deloitte and Touch to detect the material error in Transmile financial statement had cast a doubt on the auditor's competence and UNIKL. They also gave a public doubt to the credibility of the auditing profession and affected the public confidence in auditor duties. So we move to the next. Malaysian's government and also Bursa Malaysia. Okay, the Transmile Group Berhad scandal has damaged Malaysia integrity and credibility in a corporate governance as well as sincerity in Malaysia. Government reputation for promoting corporate accountability and integrity was affected by Transmile Group Berhad scandal. Okay, As we know, Transmile was listed under a Bursa Malaysia market list for several years before this scandal. Okay, after the incidents, the company had made a share price decrease. We move to the next point is company. Okay, Transmile company itself most highly affected by this fraud. Okay, a national cargo which flew high on the top but has a shrank down and turned into the company that has no business activity at all, and not many subsidiary and affiliates that has been long dormant and inactive. Okay, so the last point is the guilty parties. So we have three guilty parties, which is Yaacob and also Qudin bin Muhammad. Okay, the board of the director who involved in the financial scandal had fined by the Security Commissions on the Bursa Malaysia Security Berhad. After the scandal, each of the directors already lost some credibility and integrity in the public judgment. We move to the conclusions.
The last part is conclusion. A lot of people affected by the fraud did by Transmile Group Berhad. It doesn't matter who the perpetrator is. The most important is the lesson we need to learn from this accounting fraud. Second point is, there are many factors that result to steer the fraud within the Transmile case. So the first factor is the managerial behavior that desire to create the organization that appear to be good in terms of performance. This factor which will cause the activity of reporting the next profit than the actual amount. Besides that, lack of control systems and lack of monitoring. Lack of control system prevent and detect the misconduct result to fraud to occur unexpectedly. And lack of monitoring is that monitoring and detecting by the board of directors themselves. Transmile should identify the cause that there is major increase within the profit amount. The third factor is that whistleblowing can cause a businesses to lose future business venture. Whistleblower needs a transparent of support from the organizations. Therefore, companies should provide a great support to whistleblowers by ensuring their job security. Resultantly, the whistleblower will notice or sense that they are being secure and braced. The last factor is that it is important for corporate to use whistleblowing as a tool to detect fraud. It is within the corporate, although that might be a side effect of the fraud being exposed, because it is for the protections and so that the corporate itself in long run developments and growth.